In life's hardest fights, you need someone strong. The right team beside you to help you move on. When the stakes are high and you can't go it alone. Fraser and Griffin bringing justice.
Welcome to another episode of Conversations with Ralph and Randy. My name is Eric Reese. We have a special guest today, Keijuane Hester from Favor Desserts. And we also have B. Scott. Now let's listen in.
Good morning. My name is Keijuane Hester. We're here at Favor Desserts, and we have a candid conversation with the great Ralph Fraser, Randy Griffin, and Southside Scotty B. Scott. So we were just talking about lawyers in particular, about how their young crowd normally try to retain lawyers, and how would they pick lawyers when they're facing a criminal case or something like that. So I was just talking to B. Scott about it, and I was just asking him, so, when you got in trouble, how did you go into picking the lawyer?
Well, when I first got in trouble back in the day, way back in the day, I was going in the courtrooms by myself when I was getting in trouble. No one was telling me or showing us, me and my guys, what to really do. Right. So we was going in court, taking wild pleas, settling for probation just to get out of there, but not knowing later on down the road this affects you.
Right.
So my good friend Mario, shout out to Rio, he told me, man, you keep catching these charges, you need to go see Ralph. So I'm like, who was Ralph? He like, that's my lawyer, my godfather. I'm like, I bet. Take me to go see Ralph. We sit down. This is new for me. Sitting with a lawyer, no disrespect. It felt like sitting with the law because I didn't know.
Right.
I didn't have education of it. So first thing Ralph said to me, he said, don't lie to me.
Right. So
I said, oh man, don't lie to him, but I don't know nothing but the lie. I don't know nothing but the lie. So he said, don't lie to me. Was it yours? And the reason why I gotta know this, because I know how to proceed. So I looked over at bruh. He looked at me like, yeah, it was mine. He said, all right, we go from here. And from there, we went because I was in years of trouble.
Right.
And these two, and of course I'm introduced to him. Every time I'm in the courtroom, they in the courtroom.
Right.
So it helped. I started seeing the politics side of it, with me having a lawyer. Mm-hmm. I started seeing the streets, it's not right, but, oh man, don't go in here without no lawyer.
Right.
It make it easier.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I would say, in picking a lawyer, a lot of times it's all about, who is best lawyer who could go in there and represent you. A lot of times a client want to know, can you beat the case?
Absolutely.
Or if you can't beat the case, how much time am I looking at? And I know from my example of just with Ralph, I remember I was in court for, I don't know what it was for.
Right.
And I knew he wasn't even representing me, but it's just a relationship. And I saw him come out the back and he was like, don't worry about it. You good. Just go on. You good to go. Right. And so it spoke volumes to me because it first showed me it was just the power he had, and knowing his longevity and knowing that, he could get some things done that a lot of lawyers couldn't get done.
Right.
And so, I just wanted to expound on, first of all, thank you. And anytime that me or my son was in any trouble, he would always call and say, hey, do y'all need any help? Just let me know. So thank you.
Well, I've been doing this a long time.
Yeah.
And I remember that day B. Scott came to my office. Rio and I went way back at that time. I started representing him when he was about 17. And I don't know how old he was when he brought B. Scott to me, but he brought a lot of people to me. But I do remember that conversation, and I've kind of always prided myself. A lot of lawyers don't ask you for the truth. They just take your story and then they run with it. I have always prided myself on wanting and needing to know the truth, because I can't really help you if I don't know the truth. And the truth is that when I'm in the heat of battle, if I don't know the truth, I'm liable to cross a line that I don't know exists. And if I cross that line, I'm not going to pay for crossing it. My client is. And so, knowing the truth helps me be a better lawyer. Some people can't handle the truth. They say you can't handle the truth.
Right.
I can handle the truth. And I tell my clients when they come to see me, I don't care what you did. That's not my job to judge you on what you did. My job is to figure out if there's a way to try to get around this situation. But if I don't know the situation, I can't give you real answers.
Right.
Right.
And I was astounded, expanding on that, when I started with Ralph and working with Attorney Bush Williams, one of, two of the top lawyers in town, I did find that, you have to know, and I explained it to some of my clients. If I'm driving, if I know there's a pothole up ahead, then I might could swerve or prevent from hitting the pothole and tearing my car up. But if I don't know and I hit it, then, I can tear my car up. So if you let me know what's going on, then, I won't be surprised by the DA. Right. You think about it, if you're in court, you're in trial, and DA has more facts than you, and he's steadily beating you up, and you're finding out things, you're kind of on the defensive. But if you know all the facts, he can't really tell you any facts, and you know more than him, then you usually can beat them up, and they're trying to find the answers to things you already know. So, one thing about the truth, it always speaks for yourself. And it's more important today with the technology because of the number of cameras, the Ring cameras and things like that. A lot of times clients say, no, I didn't do it. It wasn't me. But you don't know with technology, what might have caught them. And so the evidence also might not readily be available. So you could go all the way through the case and get to trial and, be preparing for trial and maybe even starting trial and find out some discovery that, hey, we caught you on camera at the scene, and I've had clients say, no, I didn't do it. No, I swear I didn't do it. And we go for several months and then video appears and like, well, it looks like you in high definition. Right. And so, but if you know that, that can help you make some smarter choices and could be the difference between getting things worked out, preserving your record, putting you back on the right track, right, or you going to prison.
Right.
So it's important to know, and I always found people that were truthful with me that when you have all the facts, it's hard for the DA to surprise you or beat you,
Piggybacking off what he just said, from my side or the side I used to live, it's a line between paid lawyer, court-appointed lawyer, that the street dudes look at because they might have been through a situation where they got sold out by a court-appointed lawyer. So when they finally get to a point where they talking to what I would call a real lawyer, like you guys, that trust thing is there where it's like, dang, do I trust them or not? Because such and such sold me out.
Right.
When I was going through it, when I was fighting from the county or whatever. So it's that trust issue that a lot of dudes have. They don't know how to tell you guys, you know what I'm saying, who's really fighting for them. Because I done been told by both of y'all, look, I don't care about your money. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, the reputation or the beating the case was more than just taking somebody's money.
That's true. And I hear a lot of people say, well, the court-appointed lawyers, they're lawyers just like Ralph and I.
No disrespect.
I did 17 years on the appointed list.
Right.
Sometimes with the state paying, you don't get paid as well as some of the private clients.
Right.
Sometimes clients are incarcerated and they can't afford to get out. That's a lot of times that puts you at disadvantage because, and now that I get older, I tell people, if you're out and can come see me, that's a lot better than you being locked up. And every time I need to see you, I need to go. wait in line or hold, and then, get to see you behind bars.
Right.
So, but some people are, and it can be a huge disadvantage because you charge, they're sitting in there, you have to get appointed from the court. And sometimes the lawyer, it may be a couple of weeks before they get your paperwork and know that's you. Then, the pay rate, lawyers try to go see their clients, but at the same time, especially if they're in private practice and paid off the court appointed list, they're trying to keep their private practice going because they got to pay the bills.
Right.
And so a lot of times people are saying, well, he's not seeing me. I'm not seeing my lawyer enough. Now, if you're out, you get on the phone and call your lawyer, or you stop by and see the lawyer if you have a question. But if you're in, you can't really have that freedom.
Right.
Also, evidence can become stale. You may have witnesses' names. A lot of guys I used to come in contact with would know a first name and not a last name, or an area they stayed at. They may have a phone number, but with the burner phones, it'd be off before I get there. And so it would be hard to collect the evidence. Even if I got a private investigator say, well, I know that he usually on Thursday would be up on 9th Street on the corner hanging out, but what's his name? Well, I know we called him Junebug, but I don't have his full government. So, but a court-appointed lawyer, they're trying to give you the same service as what we say a private lawyer would. There's some disadvantages, but they're highly trained. But when we come to see you, I'm an attorney, but I'm also a counselor.
Gotcha.
So, like I think we met maybe years ago at 40, and we used to go to the barbershop land. I try to check in on you guys and make sure you're all right, because that's a part of it, is caring about your folk.
Right.
If you care, and I tell people all the time, look, I might not can reveal everything the client tells me, but I try to take care of them like they my sister, my brother, or my children, And once you do that and you give them some love, a lot of people, nobody's really cared about them.
Right.
A lot of people on the street, they come in and first off they say, well, nobody's visiting, nobody's putting any money up for the bond, and I'm thinking you finding out who your friends are.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
you for sure find out.
But that's important part of a criminal defense practice is probably different than any other.
Right.
It's a relationship thing.
Yeah.
In the end, it becomes a relationship thing. People gravitate to people that they trust.
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, people come see me and they may have been to see me and been to see Butch and been to see Julian. And the reality of it is I tell them, listen, you need to hire whichever one of us makes you feel comfortable.
Right.
Because in the end, you need to be comfortable with whoever it is that's representing you. If that's me, cool. If it's not me, then fine. Go, one of them others, they're good lawyers. But it's about the relationship, and it's about being comfortable with the person who's giving you that advice.
Right.
And so, I try to make people comfortable. That's kind of what I try to do. I try to make people understand that, I'm here, I'm in your corner. Now, what I don't do, that a lot of lawyers do is tell you what you want to hear.
Right.
Now, I make it a point in my practice not to tell people what they want to hear. I tell them the truth. Truth hurts sometimes. And I lose business because people want to come in and they want me to tell them, look, we're going to beat this. I don't care what they say, we can beat this. Right. No, we probably not going to beat this. And if you don't want to hear that, then you don't want to hear that. And I lose clients all the time to people who have told them that, we can do some things that can't be done.
Yeah.
But most of them end up coming back to me at some point in time saying, I appreciate you telling me the truth.
The integrity.
Right? Because in the end, it's about your integrity. This is a long-term game. I'm 32 years in the game.
Yeah.
And there have been a lot of lawyers who have come and go on since I came. But the reality of it is that it's a trust factor, and being able to build that trust factor and that rapport, not just with the clients, but with the DAs and with the judges and with, everybody has to respect what you're saying when you're saying it. And knowing that what you're telling them is the gospel.
Right.
Right. And so that's why having the truth is so important. So that I know what not to say. Right. Right. And or what to say in many instances.
Right.
But it also helps build that rapport with the client. court-appointed lawyers sometimes get a bad rep. You know, I think, because I tell people all the time, they're good court-appointed lawyers and they're bad court-appointed lawyers, just like they're good paid lawyers and they're bad paid lawyers. The problem with the court-appointed lawyer, to the extent, is that you don't get to choose.
Right.
You get who they give you.
Right.
And so, you know, I tell people you get what you pay for.
Right.
In the end. And so, you know, that's kind of my sell on the whole situation.
Gotcha.
Right. And just to piggyback off of that, I think whether it's being in business and you're an attorney or business, it's all about relationships. I can attest to it, being in business 22 years. It's all about relationship. I know one of my mentors said, you got to make sure that every client feels like they are the only one you're selling a service to. And so once you make it personal, where they feel like, personally, I really want to support him, I trust this guy, then they would not only support your business or be a client, but they will also refer others to your business.
Yeah.
And
Well, as B. Scott said, somebody brought him to me.
yeah. And so
Somebody who trusted me, who loved him, brought him to me because they wanted him
True.
to have the same benefits they had.
Yep.
And I bought a neighborhood.
Yeah. Yeah. And so pretty much basically
Whole South Side.
it's all based on relationship and cultivating relationships and just growing off of one client can turn into 100 of clients and you know it'll stimulate your business and you know you'll be doing business here and then you do business in Greensboro, pick up clients all across the country.
Right.
Well, that word of mouth is real.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. And look at B. Scott today.
Yeah.
You know, he's over here on the mic right beside me and turning into the man that I expected he would
Yeah.
Trying to.
and that he could do. He just needed help to make that happen.
Yeah.
My man.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
And the gentleman beside him who's doing great business in the area and helping the community and giving back. And we appreciate all the love you're giving to Durham.
Yeah.
But more importantly, he's reaching back to people that need him
Yeah.
Yeah.
and bringing them along too.
Yeah.
And in life, you're supposed to look back, reach back, and give back.
That's right.
And so we all have to be beacon of light in darkness and be that person to be able to help each other, because you guys are guys of a standard and, you know, and leaders. And so a lot of times we could look and say, hey, when they hear Ralph Fraser or Randy Griffin, who are you with? These are top lawyers. And so thank you guys for being beacon of light in the community. And yeah.
I got a question for Ralph and Randy. When you guys are representing someone, how do you go about knowing how you're going to attack the fight, how you're going to approach the battle, loopholes, all of that? Like, how do you plan for that, strategize for that?
So, you know, every case is different. You know, I might have 100 possession with intent to sell and deliver cases.
Right.
And, you know, everybody had cocaine. And so theoretically, they're all the same, but they're not. Every situation starts differently. Every situation flows differently. And so I'm looking at every little detail to determine whether or not there's a loophole somewhere, or did they make a mistake? Did they dot all their I's and cross all their T's, as we used to say in school? Because if they didn't dot all their I's and cross all their T's, then there may be a hole for us to dive in. That hole may make the case go away. That hole may give us that misdemeanor that we want, that so we don't have to deal with the felony and end up in superior court. You know, all of those situations are different. So it's all a detail-oriented situation. And then you got to take into consideration the person, right? You know, it's unfortunate necessarily that people's backgrounds and situations play into how situations turn out, right? Theoretically, everybody should get fed from the same spoon, but I'm just here to tell you that that's not the truth, right? The reality of it is that you got to know everybody's story. There's a different story for everybody, and the story sometimes can help you get a better take a bad situation and make it better. And so, there are all the details. I'm listening and looking for all the little minute details that can change the game. And so, like I say, every case is different. And so it's paying attention to the small things that I like to pride myself on, knowing and being able to present to make the difference for the client.
Right.
Yeah, I would piggyback on that and say, you're looking to see how did you come in contact with the police?
Right.
Was it you were doing something and they caught their attention and stopped you, or were you a subject of investigation? And that can be key sometimes. Sometimes they'll say, well, he was speeding, or I saw him driving recklessly, and you dig into it and find out really maybe somebody called the police on you. Mm-hmm. Or somebody said they selling drugs in that neighborhood, and they kind of went out and snooped around to see what they could find. And sometimes they'll stop and they don't have a reason to stop you. Mm-hmm. Or they're stopping you based on a tip. Somebody said that they was doing this, and but the police, they're very good at what they do. They training and taking classes and studying just like Ralph and I. So, they know if they say they stop you for speeding, they can stop you for speeding. And, to be honest, whether or not they did stop you for speeding, if they saying that, it can be difficult sometimes to beat. I tell people, because some people come in, they say, well, I wasn't speeding at all. Or if they see you on the corner, they notice suspicious activity, they can say, they can get there and search and find drugs, and then kind of be like, well, I was doing a pat down and he had some drugs on him. Yeah. And sometimes that can be difficult to beat, but like Ralph went back to knowing the facts and knowing the truth, and sometimes the truth will rear its ugly head in different ways. Sometimes it work against the police too. Yeah. Somebody else out there might see, like I said, cameras might catch. So you look for loopholes, you try to find out and get to know your client and find out why they're in your office, first of all.
Right.
And kind of dig and get into the facts. See if there's reasons, they really had true reasons to stop you or search you and stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah. But what I will say is, leave that cell phone at home.
Yeah.
The practice has changed, from the time I met you to now.
Yeah.
Cases are made differently than they were made. Yeah. The SAC-NARC team operates differently now than they operated then.
Right.
Out then they had to kind of be on the street and find you and find it. Now they just follow you.
Yeah. The game.
They just track you. They look you at your Instagram. They follow your social media. They just follow you. They get your cell phone.
Right.
And what people don't know is that if you don't cut these features off, your cell phone records everywhere you've been, how long you've been there, everything. It tracks you up and down the highway. It tracks you ping off of other people's internet systems, and so you're pinging all the way down the street. They sent me the other day, they tracked my client, they could tell me where he went. He all the way to New York and back.
Yeah.
How long he was in New York, what time he came back, just from his cell phone. And we mentioned the cameras and things everywhere. I tell people all the time, man, it's gonna be on video, so tell me the truth.
Right.
Like, there are cameras everywhere. There's Ring cameras on people's doors. Just the cars are coming by. They're catching more people with people's ring footage
cameras
than almost anything else.
That's crazy you said that, because when I was sitting in prison and we'll be watching world news or something and see something happen and I'm sitting in there from a time where it wasn't no Ring cameras, where somebody had to see you and point you out, till I'm watching the game elevate. I'm watching it and I'm like, dang, I'm sitting there watching TV like, dang, you get caught off a camera now. They going to this house, they got it from this view, that view. So that's even making me think like, nah.
Well, and then everybody's posting their business. Everybody's on social media. They want to flash how much cash they got. Yeah. They want to throw the cash on the bed and let everybody see it. Well, law enforcement is watching that. You know, they watching, all they watching is social media now. Sure. They can sit in their offices and watch Instagram and figure out who they gonna bust tomorrow.
Yeah.
And so, you know, educating the youth now about the tactics that they're utilizing, you know, to the extent, you know, that's what our job is.
Right.
That's what they need to know about. Like, everything is subject to challenge at this point.
Music too, Ralph. They use music in our case, in our federal case.
Yeah, they use music.
They use music in our federal case to
you got rap songs and you got lyrics in your rap songs and you think, you know, they're just lyrics. No, they're utilizing those lyrics to try to describe this is who you are, this is how you act.
Right. You're not just an artist if you think you're just an artist.
Yeah.
You're not just an artist if you're talking about real street stuff. You're not just an artist. You know,
that's true. And you try to tell the youth that some of the stuff you see and the real big guys, you know, some of them aren't doing everything they rapping about. You know what I mean?
No. Most of them ain't doing everything they're rapping about.
You know, and I want to tell people so many times when they come into my office, like, I don't know what you're doing in school and you're street smart and everything. I said, bro, you're really intelligent. What if you would have spent the amount of time you did planning your crime and working on what you were going to do and your enterprise with the money and your direction and leadership in the legit legal things, you would have been straight.
Right.
I think he wants demonstrating that now.
Yeah, he definitely is.
You know, if you spend your time, you know, thinking, you know, what can I do with the AI and the technology and the computers and the social media and the music? You know, I hear people with the music, especially like with the beats and the raps and stuff and like that. If you spend time with that kind of stuff, putting stuff together, you probably could go a lot of places. But we do see some elaborate crimes, and you know, our goal or my goal is to try to get people back on their feet and keep them on their feet so they don't have to keep coming to see me.
Right.
You know, I don't want to see you out there locked up. I want you to be free. I want to see people, you know, excelling and living a good life.
Well, you know, I served on the Boys and Girls Club board for a long time, and I used to tell the kids there that my goal is to prevent you from having to come see me.
That's right.
Like, if I can keep you out of my office, then I've done my job.
Yeah, and piggybacking on cameras, you know, I was over at Central the other day, and the officer was telling me, he says they have a number of cameras on campus, and every car that comes by, they read your tag. If you got any warrants, you know, they know who's on campus now. They know when felons riding around, they know all of that, just when you turn down that street. And so, you know, the technology's out there.
Yeah.
You know, you're doing this, that, and the third. And a lot of times they're aware of who's doing what. It's just a different ball game.
Yeah.
You know, so keep that in mind is what I tell people.
So after the case, after representing the client, how do you continue that rapport with your clients after the case?
Well, you know, every case and every client is different. You know, like B. Scott and I, we still communicate.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I couldn't reach out to him while he was in prison, and there are reasons for that.
Right.
But the reality of it is that we still cool, and we still talk, and I still check in on him and want to see how he's doing. But not every client develops that relationship with you. No, not everybody develops that rapport. It's almost like friends, right? You know, people say you can't be friends with some of these street people. Well, actually, you can be friends with some of these street people, right? Because in the end, you need to be their friend, right? Because they need to trust you, and you need to trust them.
Yes.
And I need to trust him as much as he needs to trust me.
True.
To be honest with you.
Yeah.
And so, you know, you try to build that rapport, but honestly, you know, it's on to the next one many times.
Right.
Quite frankly, I just got to be real with you, because it's always, the phone rings today. It's going to be a murder that happened yesterday, and you know, I'll wrap that case up. I gotta be able to pivot,
right?
Because somebody else is needing that same time, attention, and nurturing. Quite frankly, and so it really is just a rapport thing. You know, I have many clients that, you know, I don't see for years,
right?
But when I see them, it's like I saw, you know, they saw their best friend,
right?
They haven't seen me in a long time. Man, I remember what you did for me. Or man, thank you so much. I moved on. Now I'm driving trucks. I got some trucks, or I own funeral homes. I met a guy this weekend who apparently had a relationship 20-some years ago. He owned 5 funeral homes now in Rocky Mount.
Wow.
And so, he's doing great things.
Right.
And he was thankful to me. I didn't know that I had changed his life in that way.
Right.
And so, I love hearing from clients, quite frankly, who come back to you and tell you about the impact that you made. Because at the time, you don't necessarily realize the impact, right? Because this is what we do. And so, you do your best you can to maintain those relationships, but the relationships really get solidified that day one when you tell me the truth.
Right.
Because if you tell me the truth, then that means you've got some trust in me. And at that point, we've got a relationship that we can build on.
Right. Can I say something before you say something right quick?
Yes.
On that side, the client side, I got what? Probably 10 dismissals with you. Seriously. Like, I was caught red-handed. Y'all know that. Well, my trust level for both of them was up, and it wasn't client lawyer with me. It was like them the homies, them the guys. They looking out for me. When I go to homecoming, I'm at his RV.
Right.
I'm eating.
His family.
I'm bumping heads with judges, certain DAs talking to me. Scott, come in, let me ask you a question. It ain't deep, but that come from being around them two, the crowd they exposed me to. You get what I'm saying? So speaking from that client level, it's been trust. I really sat in prison and sent word to him and told him, thank you, because you did do everything you could to keep me from this point. You just couldn't save me from these people.
Right.
It was a whole different ball game. You get what I'm saying? So I understand that side.
Yeah. And that is one of the things, I do a lot of tailgating.
Yeah.
And I don't discriminate at my tailgate.
Right.
Like whoever comes through. They eat, they drink, they socialize, and I entertain judges, I entertain lawyers, I entertain prosecutors, and I entertain the streets. And it's actually a great environment because of things like what you just said happen, right? And people, you get an opportunity to develop a different rapport with the DA than you would have coming in there as a criminal.
Exactly.
They get to see a different side of you. Like, oh, well, he actually is cool. He just, maybe his exposures weren't the same as mine. And I tell people all the time, the difference between me and somebody else is I was exposed.
Right.
I was exposed to a different way of life and a different, and if you become and you are what you see.
Yes.
Like if you don't see something different, then you don't know that even exists.
Yes.
Right.
My relationship with Rio, quite frankly, since we brought him up.
No doubt.
I tried to expose him to some different things.
No doubt.
Because I saw in him what we were talking about, intelligence and an ability to lead.
Right.
That if it had been focused differently, would have been a completely different way. Could have ended up a completely different way.
We would have been something else. That's right.
And so, it goes back to, trying to develop the rapport and the relationship with everybody.
True.
Because that's the way you can best serve.
True.
Yeah, I think the relationship is key and important. And a lot of times I have phone numbers for people, try to follow them on social media. And a lot of times social media tell you it's birthdays and birthday wishes, see how they're doing. And, let them, some of them come back, and Ralph and I might be the only professionals that they really have that relationship with. When we got to know and they really know, and they might say, man, I need a letter of recommendation, or I need to figure out who hires felons, or do you know anybody who could help me? And so I like to keep those relationships. And then I just like to see people as they grow, they become wise and a little older, and they start progressing. it's good to see and say, you know, I told the prosecutor this person could be somebody and would be somebody, and they are turning out to do that.
Right.
You know, when they say, nah, he's not going to amount to much. But just instilling that hope and keeping that relationship, you know, it's good to see people when they're doing well, they back on their feet, you repaired the life. That's the best feeling in the world.
Right.
You know, because you see them out there flourishing, and you're like, look, they doing great, and they're not, you know, in the street or committing crimes, and they're contributing to society, and that's a good feeling to see that, and that makes you proud. And so I like to tell people, you know, you can call me if you need me. Ralph and I, we'll try to make it happen, you know. And sometimes people just need a word of advice for you to point you to somebody that else who could help them that we may know.
Right.
Yeah. Well, B, what I did want to ask you, you know, now that you've matured a little bit and been through this, what advice would you give the little homies, you know, out there who might be a little younger, that's struggling, that's trying to figure things out, who may need a word of advice or hope? What would you tell them?
My first word of advice or hope is, if you doing street activity, stand on what you sign up for. And what I mean by that is, be responsible, be accountable for your actions. And I'll leave that there. Next thing is, it don't last. You know, like, it don't last. It's a place for you. And the other side pretty rough, and it depends on how you know, what you get from the other side. Like, it's somewhere for you. I feel like, and I tell Key this all the time, prison wasn't for me because there's no institution that could hold a man that looked like me, that could do for me.
Right.
Prison wasn't good for me. Isolation was good for me. Because if I wouldn't have went to prison, I'd have still been doing the same, or been doing more time, or dead.
Right.
So isolation was good for me. I haven't been alone my whole life. I've always been in a crowd. I've always been with people. I've always been here. But when I got there and that door locked that night, I'm like, dang, well, it's just me. You know, I lost my friends too, but it's just me.
Yeah.
And I found me. You get what I'm saying? I tapped into me. Like, I seen what others was trying to tell me. Like, you know, I found me. I still got my little struggles mentally. You know what I'm saying? I still got my struggles, but I got ways I deal with them. Positive ways, you know? Like, with that being said, I want to thank Big Bro, too. First person gave me an opportunity when I stepped home. First day I came home, first person who seen me. 30 days later, seen me at Central. I said, Key, I'm bored. He said, you bored? I said, I'm bored, bro. I need you. I'm bored. I was on house arrest. He said, give me a couple days. Call me back the next week. You want 3 days to work? Hell yeah. 3 days. I took that. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
It's my man right here. He's saving me. He saved me. And I'm thankful for him. I love this dude. Like, I really do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's real. That's real. And one thing when that door closes, it teaches you that you can make it on your own.
Yeah.
By yourself.
Yeah.
If you can make it through there, like you said, isolated, nobody to turn to, and it's just you get to examine yourself.
Yeah.
But you find the strength, and that's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But spending your time and examining your thoughts, you know that, hey, I can stand me and whatever God you believe in,
right?
And you can make it. And once you have that confidence, you can go, bro.
Yeah,
you can go, and that's what people need.
Yeah. So I got one question for you, B.
Talk to me.
What made you different?
In which way?
Well, you've come out of this. You took the prison experience and turned it into a positive thing,
right?
In the grand, you took it and you learned from it. You matured from it. You brought it to a point where you realized the error in some of your ways. Mm-hmm. No disrespect to the people and what other people do, but not everybody comes out like that. Mm-hmm. A lot of people come out and go right back to doing what they were doing.
I knew what I wanted and I know what I didn't want. I know I ain't want to, like, and it's not sounding soft. It's like the timing. Bro, I don't want to be here no more. Like, I don't want this man talking to me crazy, spitting snuff at my feet, talking to me, like, calling me boy. And losing my mother, not being able to touch it, visualize it, see it, still don't feel real. You know what I'm saying? Losing friends, coming home and knowing some of them might not make it home, they still there. And I surrounded myself around a community in there. I was still doing some things in there. I was still running with some people in there that I signed up to be with. I ain't gonna talk like my story all, you know what I'm saying? I was still running with the guys in there.
Survive.
I had to do what I had to do because that's what I signed up for. Right. Accountability. You know what I'm saying? I signed up for them street. I'm him in here. But I surround myself around a bunch of older dudes, older cats from other places, a lot of good DC dudes who never coming home. And that's who I rode with. That's who kept me like this. That's who got on me when I might just move crazy today. You get what I'm saying? That's who helped me get this job that I held on for 5 years and became the man down there running the spot. Like, I stuck with dudes who had a story to tell and who might not make it home. Those are the guys I wanted to be with. I wanted to be with the guys who you don't talk loud around, who you don't, who's not accepted to everybody. Those was the guys I was rolling with. And I just learned more about me. Worked out, went to school, worked, kept good relationship with the family, calling home, writing my letters. I took it for what it was, and I just did it. You know, it had its moments, but it was no need to cry, and that was my first time. That was my first time. So, but it was no need to whine and I got me here. Ain't nobody else get me here. Of course, you know, I got me here. So let me do this. Let me get this on out the way and get this behind me. That's it.
And I like to piggyback on a little bit. I think for me, watching him from afar, he gave himself a chance, and he just seeing him now, he know his value, and then he sees success every day. I'm a firm believer, if you see success every day, and then, like he said, the exposure, when he's now exposed himself to a run club. And so now he see things different and see people in careers that are different from the street, and it's an impartation. It has been a positive impartation on his life.
Yeah,
and
so Rerun Durham, man.
Yeah, so when you give yourself a shot and know how valuable you are and how valuable you are to others, and you know, after your freedom, you value that, you value life, and you know that you are fortunate to be here every day from out of what you came from, then you look at life different. And so he has really done a great job of adapting and pivoting and doing the right things that are necessary for his life so he can be successful. And so I just want to say thank you guys for Ralph, Randy, and B. Scott for this conversation that's much needed. Not just for us, but, for anybody that's going to look and want to just evaluate their lives, their circumstance, trouble, superior lawyers versus court-appointed, and just, value your life and know that, hey, I'm the CEO of my life. And so good or bad, I got to do what's necessary for me to be successful.
Well, we thank you for hosting us here at this fine establishment.
Yes.
Favorite Desserts.
Favorite
Y'all
Desserts.
who don't know about Favorite Desserts, come on down here and check it out on Austin Avenue.
Yes.
What's the address again?
4520 South Austin Avenue.
4520 South Austin Avenue. It's his building. He owns it. It's his business.
Yes.
Come check him out.
Yes. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
I want to thank y'all for joining us today and hopefully giving some of our youth some hope out there.
Yeah.
And appreciate all the work you've done and continue to be successful and strive.
Yes.
Appreciate y'all.
Thank you.
Fraser and Griffin bringing justice home.